Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So Islam and environment. Islam teaches us and aims to instill within us a deep consciousness of environment and respect towards our fellow creatures. When we look at the Prophet's life, we see that he is constantly trying to instill that deep sense of environmental consciousness in the hearts and minds of his followers. For example, look at his lifestyle. His refrainment from luxury and lavishness. Now that very lifestyle is actually quite telling, because the people who are talking about environmental problems today, they usually link that problem to our very bad consumption habits. Yes, we consume natural resources faster than nature can reproduce them. So the solution lies in somewhere developing more careful and sensitive consumption habits. And that very lifestyle that the Prophet lived is teaching us how to live in accordance with nature, our reality. We are not living in an infinitely rich resource environment. That's not the case at all. We have limited sources and we have to share it with many people. So the solution lies in developing highly sensitive consumption habits, or one can say sustainable consumption. And this is what the Prophet teaches. He lived in a hut made of mud. His dietary habits were quite strict. He ate little, he fasted a lot. So that very lifestyle that I'm talking about here is an embodiment of sensitive consumption. So that's the first thing that I want to say. And from another perspective, let's just look at how he treated animals and how he taught us to treat animals. For example, he forbade killing animals for just fun, or recreational hunting as they say it, or having animals fight with each other for entertainment, or branding them on their face, overburdening domestic animals. He kept pets. He had a cat. He named his pets. That cat Muazza or that camel Abda. They had names. So he named them, every species as an ummah. And this allowed, in following centuries, Muslim theologians, philosophers, and jurisprudents to develop highly evolved animal rights ethics and codes of behavior, and to actually maintain them by offering some legal codifications of this issue. So that is very well protected. Why? Because of the prophetic example. And we have actually many sayings of the Prophet. So he also forbade scaring animals, or burdening them, or making them targets for shooting. And they were actually entrenched habits in that society, and he uprooted them. And because of his treatment of animals with some respect, that gave the followers, gave his followers an example, a perfect example of how we should be treating animals, how should we be protecting them and respecting them. Here's the saying: Allah will judge those who kill a sparrow unfairly. And we know also that how he condemned some of his companions because of ill treatment of animals. So that's also another aspect of his environmental ethics, that we can use to develop profound environmental ethics today. From another perspective, this is for animals. How about plants? And we know that he proclaimed some areas in and around Medina as hima. Hima means sanctuary. In a sanctuary, you're not allowed to kill animals, to cut trees. So we can actually consider him as the first human being in history who is proclaiming an area as a natural park. He's actually initiating that idea. this is a natural park and you're not allowed to kill animals or cut trees in that natural park. And we also know the existence of other himas, other sanctuaries in and around Mecca and Medina. Also, we know that upon his arrival to Medina, he launched a tree plantation campaign to beautify Medina and date groves. He initiated that campaign as well. So the deforestation and preserving already existing green spaces was one of his main concerns. This is also quite telling in terms of how to construct cities which are in peace with nature, not developed or not constructed at the expense of destroying nature, but constructed and permeating into nature without destroying it. And this is a quite profound lesson we should also learn from the Prophet. And here is a saying that is, again, supporting the idea here. If any one of you, he says, peace be upon him, have a date sapling on the doomsday, he should plant it if possible. So you see how profound is this? That date of sapling, this future is not that important here. The important is the act of planting that date, that tree, because that act itself, in itself, has a great value. And that is about plants and forestation and trees. From another perspective also, we see him as someone who's really concerned about conserving water. So one of the big issues today is, that is also related to environmental problems, the preservation of water and water scarcity. Water waste is a big problem. That is also we find in his life. He says things like, peace be upon him, if you are next to a river and you have to take wudu, don't waste water even in that situation. So we see that very profound attitude towards preserving the natural resources. Even the natural resource might look in abundance, but that's not the real issue here. The issue is to treat them with respect and to preserve them as much as possible, not to waste. Kulu veshrabu wala tusrifu, the Quran says, eat and drink, but do not waste. And his whole life is an embodiment of this, the teaching of these words. And one last thing, when you look at everything here, and when you look at how the Quran talks about nature, and how the Prophet treats natural entities and our fellow creatures, and we see this teaching being manifested. Everything in the world is sacred because they are signifiers. They signify God. Things are more than they appear. And this is quite important to understand, to develop an authentic sense of concern and respect towards natural phenomena. Things are more than they appear. One has to respect them because they have this relationship to the divine. And that is to say, whole nature is sacred. Not one place, not one time, but all nature is, and all times are sacred. And this is actually a manifestation of the central teaching of Islam, which is La ilaha illallah. If God is one, and if God is created, God has created and is creating these beings, everything has this relationship to the divine. And because of that relationship, everything must be respected, protected, preserved, and well treated. Thank you.